y'all hear snoring in the background, that's my bulldog right there in the background. You see him back there in his crate. Esquire, you gonna say hey to everybody, buddy? You gonna say hey to everybody? Yeah, so he comes into the office with me and he snores during my depositions, man. But so what I'm gonna do is I'll share this to my personal Facebook page. So I won't be long, but I do want to share this with everybody. Ashley, what's going on? Can you hear me, Ashley? Let me hear you say yeah if you can hear me. Rudy, what's up? Can you hear me? Antoine, what's going on, Doc? Yeah, so this is the first time I've gone live from my fan page. It's like I think it's like 15,000 followers on here. I know everybody at work A, B, and C, so I'll post it and share it to my personal page. But believe it or not, today is actually June 1st, marked the 6 year anniversary for the Watson firm. So I started this law firm 6 years ago as of June 1st. Today, when I came into the office, I called my office manager and was like, "Hey, let's get some coffee and donuts and all that stuff for the clearance. What's going on for the staff for my team?" And so I walked over. We're actually running the Watson firm in two locations right now. We started out at Town and Country Plaza. If you're from Pensacola, you know where that is. Then we bought a place on the water on Palafox Street. But the crazy thing, he says, Henry Phillips, my man, thanks for the cash that you put in my pocket. Hey, you know it. We get a lot of a lot of clients, man. If you ever see somebody leave the Watson firm with a white envelope in their hand, they got a good day because they just got a check. But yeah, so we got this location downtown on the water on Palafox Street, and we started outgrowing it. Like I literally had right here where my dog is, this little nook right here. Like I had an attorney working out of here. My office manager was in here. I had like six people in my conference room. It was lawyers sharing offices. My accounting team, they were all, we were just growing, quick. And then when you factor that in with COVID and all that stuff, thank God we were blessed and didn't have some, big issue here. But we had to look for space. And the thing about Pensacola is, I love my city, and let me tell you something, guys. Pensacola will always come in. Pensacola will always be the home base for the Watson firm. But when I started this law firm, I'm telling you, God showed me that we would have the Watson firm in several different locations. I've been eyeballing Jacksonville hard. I've been eyeballing Mobile, Alabama hard. Just waiting for the right time to move because when you start a new business in another location, another city, if you don't start it the right way, if you don't make a splash, you might as well, from in my opinion, you might as well not even start it. Like if I'm gonna move into Jacksonville, I'm gonna have billboards, TV ads, radio ads, and all that stuff. And a marketing campaign like that can cost you over $100,000 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if I were to just go and open a law firm in a city outside of Pensacola, and nobody knows who Aaron Watson is or the brand or and I just expect people to come to my office, you're starting off on the wrong foot. And so, we've really been looking hard. Luke Hendricks, what's going on, Doc? Hey, man, Luke. Hey, listen, I love you, man. I think about you all a lot. I think about your dad, your family a lot, man. I'll share this with you, Luke. I will never forget going out fishing with your dad over, I think it was in South Carolina and one time we were out, and he said to me, he said, Aaron, he showed me he was he did bow and arrow, crossbows and all that. He was a competitor. He said, and we were out there talking about a case. He said, Aaron, if you hit this bullseye, I'm gonna show you how to do it. If you hit it, we're gonna win the case, and if you miss it, we're gonna lose the case. And I was like, I don't want to play then. Man, we pulled that bow back, and he got my arm, and I let that thing go, poof, bullseye. We won that case. Just things like that. I tell you, with a lot of these cases, it's as a Christian lawyer, there's a lot of God, that I bring into cases. I'm a praying lawyer. I meditate. There is a lot to winning that I believe is a spiritual component. But we hit that bullseye. Lo and behold, we go before that jury, win the case. And so, but back to what I was saying is, this law firm started in Town and Country Plaza in Pensacola. How does a law firm that starts with such humble beginnings end up getting $1 million results, settlements and all that stuff. Just last month, we had $1 million settlement. But God showed me that this firm is going to be birthed in Pensacola, but it's going to be other locations throughout the nation, and me, I get so anxious, I'm ready to move now. I'm ready to do it now. But I've learned that, sometimes you'll want things to happen now that you're not ready for. I look at cases differently well, this is my 13th year practicing law. I look at cases more different than I did at my second year. And I think any lawyer on this call, Jermaine, what's going on, Doc, will say that, the more years you get as a lawyer, I can look at a case in a minute and tell you what the issues are, if it's a good case, a bad case, whether or not we should be taking this case to trial A, B, and C. When I was a young lawyer, I had to earn my stripes, had to win some cases, lose some cases. But you get me in front of a case now, I'm bringing some experience to the table. It's not just the degrees, not just that I passed the bar exam. I've gotten years and years of I've represented thousands of people. I've seen cases from different angles. In one of my commercials, I told you I had a case against Yamaha. Man, do you know when you sue a company like Yamaha, do you know what kind of lawyers they hire? Just think about that for a second. If I sue Joe Blow's gas station here in town, they might go get them a lawyer. Maybe that lawyer's good or not. But Yamaha, psh, bro, them was the best lawyers I ever seen. Hey, those lawyers are good, man. Man, I will never forget this one guy. Let me share this story with you all. I know I'm supposed to be talking about a settlement, but I rarely go live. Obviously, you could tell I'm having a good day. Man, this lawyer would. We over here trying this case. This dang lawyer would argue until he's red in the face. I'm talking about when the jury's not there. We going before the judge. They're wrong. These Florida lawyers don't know anything. They don't know anything. This or that stuff. Actually, you remember it. I'm talking about red in the face. And at that age of my career, I'm like 5 years in the legal profession game. So I'm kind of like, man, this dude's going in. So we argue in front of the judge. The jury leaves, and then the jury comes back. I'm talking about this guy's face was blood red. As soon as they sit down, this guy says, "Good morning, members of the jury." That's how he talked with this Alabama what's the word I'm looking for? Slang, whatever the case may be, accent, country accent. Good morning, members of the jury. Teeth white and all this stuff. One of my favorite preachers is Reverend T.D. Jakes. Now, mind you, half of the jury panel they were black. And so I'm sitting there looking at this dude. Your favorite preacher is T.D. Jakes, but these people had gone and sent investigators out. Yeah, that twang. He had that Alabama twang. They sent investigators out to look at the cars the jurors were coming to court in. And lo and behold, one of the jurors had a T.D. Jakes CD sitting out on the in the passenger seat of her car of her car. Where they do that at? You tell me a lawyer that's like the jury comes in and these people out there looking at what's in their cars, looking at the sticker, the bumper stickers on their bumpers of their car, all to win that case. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, lawyering is a man, it's more to it than I got my law degree. I learned that my first trial. I thought my first trial that the trial was gonna be about the car accident. Man, 90% of the trial was about my client having a bounce check. They were dishonest, A, B, and C. There was a, I'm like, dang, when we gonna talk about the car accident? But it was all relevant. Why was it relevant? Because when your client says that they're hurt, the other side's gonna say they're not hurt. And so they're challenging your client's credibility that she's not an honest person. Well, a crime of dishonesty in Florida, depending on how long ago it was, is admissible in front of the jury. So they get in that my client wrote a bad check. And I'm like, oh man, she or he ain't a good person because they wrote a bad check. And I learned like, man, lawyering, it goes far beyond what they teach you in law school. And so back to this Yamaha case, we're They go out there and look at the jurors' cars. He over here talking about TD Jakes and all this stuff. And I learned, because the only reason we found out was we sent our investigators out to figure out like why is this guy talking about TD Jakes? And we found out, oh, one of the jurors had a TD Jakes CD out there. And so, but when you go up against big law firms like that, and see that level of lawyering, now mind you, kudos to the defense law firm because they would come to each deposition, they ready to go every time, every day of trial. They got a motion to dismiss the case that's 15 pages. We walk into the courtroom, good morning, we just drunk our coffee, Your Honor, we got an emergency issue to take up with the judge. I'm like, golly, y'all just filed one yesterday. We would like to dismiss the whole lawsuit for A, B, and C grounds. Like, yeah, and so that level of lawyering. But on the flip side, kudos to my prior law firm because we would always we also brought it with us as well. And so, I come from a background of just working with some legendary lawyers. I mean, you all know my prior law firm. Rest in peace, Fred Levin. That was my mentor. A good buddy of mine, man. Fred took me underneath his wing. We tried a lot of cases together, and he taught me. Aaron, when you in trial, I remember my first trial because I was on trial team in law school. Stetson for a long time. We were ranked number one in the country for trial advocacy. If you want to be a trial lawyer, you go to that law school. I think right now they're ranked number three, but out of all the law schools in the nation, they don't play around with advocacy, teaching you how to go into that courtroom and advocate. But you know, being underneath the wing of a legendary trial lawyer like that, and he's showing you, hey, this is how you do it. I would go into the courtroom and I hear some hearsay. I'm like, objection, objection, Your Honor, objection. Fred, like, man, if you don't sit down, he like everything don't have to be objected to. Yeah, it's hearsay, but when you object to it, you're causing the jury to raise their ears and their attention. Now that some of them may not have been paying attention, but you've objected. Now they're like, oh, let me zoom in. What's going on A, B, and C? And so Fred would just sit back in courtroom like this. He'd have his peppermint, sit back, and I'm looking at him like we're not going to object to this. That's hearsay. That's not relevant. This A, B, and C. But he told me, listen, you got to play it calm, and he was always calm like that. I don't think I've seen him sweat. And so some of my paralegals now, my team. They're like, Mr. Watson, why are you so calm all the time? People send me a defense lawyer will send me a crazy email, all caps. I'm like, hey, God bless you. I can't give people that type of that energy, from me. I get paid to give that energy when a judge is there and when a jury is there. If I'm going to a deposition with you and you want to sit there and yell and argue and tell me, oh, I've been doing this for 30 years, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive, I don't want to hear any of that stuff. I don't want to hear it. If the jury ain't here, I don't care how long you've been practicing law. In fact, in this case I want to tell you about today, the lawyer called me, in the beginning of the case, and I sent him a letter saying, hey, we want you to pay the full $5 million policy. I'm not gonna pay you 5 million. I'm not gonna pay you 4 million, 3 million, or even 1 million. We didn't do anything wrong in this case. We're not gonna. And you know what I said? You're gonna pay the money. You're gonna either pay it next week, which is the date in my letter, or you're gonna pay it when that jury get back. But you're gonna pay this money. And look what happened. You're gonna pay the money, Doc. And I really think sometimes these lawyers, you know, he probably went and researched my law firm and said, Pierre, what's going on, Doc? And said, you know what? This guy's from a little city called Pensacola. He has his own practice. He's not a big practice. We can just railroad him because you got a big insurance company out of uh, uh, London or somewhere. You got another insurance company out of Canada. You got this big trucking company, and they probably thought, hey, we can railroad this guy, but they don't know. I've seen the big companies like this before. I had a case against another trucking company out of New Orleans. And that was one of the largest verdicts I've ever had. Against that company. So I've seen that level of lawyering before. You get to a point. I think Jay Z might have said something like this, because he's been in the game for so long. There's nothing new under the sun. You've pretty much seen it all. And as you start to grow as a lawyer, I'm not saying I know everything, but I've seen a lot. It's not too much you're gonna throw. You're gonna put past me. You're not gonna be able to throw me off my game at a deposition by all that yelling and arguing and beating your chest and all that stuff. You're not gonna be able to throw me off my game at trial, man. I get paid to get that type of energy in front of the jury or that judge. Let me tell you something, y'all. 3 days ago, the judge, we had this big. If y'all look at my desk, I got paperwork all over. All over my desk. You know, to win at that level, you're gonna have to come. You're gonna have to spend some late nights. You're gonna have to stay here some weekends. I just said something the other day. My brother Larry, he come up here and have some coffee with me. Uh, I got this real cool coffee maker over there. It's real cool. If y'all want a good cup, boy, that thing good. It's called what is this thing called? A Jura Giga or something like that. But I mean, you just press the button. That thing it had a warm milk and grind the coffee, fresh beans. So if you want a good cup, you don't gotta go to Starbucks. Go to Watson Bucks. For y'all who've just joined on, so that's if you look in the corner right here. That's my other child. That's Esquire. Esquire, you gonna say hello? Yeah, English Bulldog. So sometimes I have him in his crate. He snores a lot, so I'll be in the middle of a deposition. Clexton, what's going on, frat? Timothy, what's going on? And they're snoring in the background. But I keep them in. It's like white noise for me, it keeps me it's just cool to have them here. But anyhow, back to what I was saying, y'all. Sometimes I'll come home at night, man, and my little girls sleep, my boys are asleep, my wife's asleep, and I'm here, it's putting in that time, researching and all this stuff, getting ready for a hearing and all that. And it is a sacrifice to it, but I'm blessed and grateful to have my wife. She understands that when I get into war mode, because this trial on this case was in 6 months. We spent over $150,000 into this case. And when I say we, I spent that. This ain't no, so you try cases a little bit different when you got $150,000 on the line. Porter Will, what's going on? Sandra, what's going on? Let me tell you what I mean when I say that. When you hire a personal injury lawyer, if you hire the Watson firm, if I believe in that case, if I'm trying the case, I'm putting my money into your case. You don't pay a dime. And, if I lose that case, that money, lose that case, I lose that money. So the $150,000 that I put into this case, if I go to trial and lose, client don't have to pay me anything. It's gone. If I win the case, that's when I recoup those costs and there's an attorney's fee. That's called a contingency fee. That means that my fee is contingent upon me winning the case. Um, this is my paralegal Wendy. I'm on Facebook Live. You want to come in and say hello or no? All right. No, you headed out for the day? Oh, you gonna go ahead and go celebrate. I'll be celebrating later. Uh-huh. All right, Wendy. Thank you. Wendy don't play no games, boy. Because when I tell you I'm here, when I'm here late at night, Wendy's here right by me late at night. Mr. Watson, you need something? Reviewing all my pleadings, looking over my for grammar issues and all that stuff. But let me tell you something else on this case. I went up against this lawyer several times since we filed this lawsuit last year. And although he puffed up his chest, he puffed up his chest and said, "I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. Oh, I've been with this big law firm out of Chicago. We've been blah 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 blah." I won every single motion against this guy. I never lost. I think this guy started to see, like, trial in 6 months, this man don't lose. And I'm not listening. Don't get me wrong. I told you all, I ain't a perfect lawyer. If you got a trial lawyer who tell you they don't lose, hey, I question whether or not that lawyer is being honest. If high stakes like this, I don't like the feeling of a loss. Any trial lawyer would tell you we don't like to lose, but how do you what's the strategy to protect yourself from losing? Well, I'll tell you what it is. You're gonna have to put in that time. When your opponent is out there playing golf, you ought to be up in here doing research in the case, shepherdizing that case, drafting that brief. I sit there and draft my legal argument, refine it again, refine it again. By the time I send that thing out, it's a bullet. It's deadly. I don't even know what. I sometimes I look at my stuff, my writing, because lawyers have to be able to advocate in writing and then orally. And so if your writing skills ain't right, you're gonna have a tough time. But I send those things out like a bullet. It's deadly. And so anyhow, each time this guy filed a motion, he filed a motion to throw out the lawsuit. There was a video of the incident that they didn't want to give up. They said, "Oh, we're not gonna give that to you because it's work product." So we had to advocate on that. Just a few days ago, the judge was like, "Hey, give it up, give it up, give it to Mr. Watson in 3 days." each time we go up. And so that's what I'm saying. I really think that this this lawyer and this law firm and these insurance companies, they went and looked and said, oh, they just from Pensacola. They're gonna be a pushover, But you know who else in Pensacola that people underestimate? Roy Jones. Don't knock it just because we from Pensacola, boy. We give you hell, for Pensacola. We got some champions that come out of Pensacola, and see the thing with me, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate. Remember what I said. When I used to work for law firms, they would invest their money into the cases, and of course I want to win to impress the firm. But when you got your money on the line, remember I told you we put invested over $150,000. And let me tell you why it gets to be so expensive. We hired engineers to go and look at this case, accident reconstructionists to look at this case, human factors experts to look at this case, truck safety experts to look at this case, toxicology. I mean, there was just, and these people, they cost money. They don't just. I call over there and say, hey, can you look at the perception reaction time? When should this driver have perceived the hazard in the roadway? Certainly, if you and I were to fight right now, and I punch you, what they do is calculate how much time it would normally take for you to be able to perceive the threat and then take action. So if you're driving and you see something on the road, how much time would it take for you to press the brakes, for to perceive it and then react, turn, put your turning signal on, all this stuff. And so all that stuff costs money, and that's money. Like I said, I really think that contingency fee lawyers, personal injury lawyers, we're like the great equalizer, because insurance companies, that's all they do. Keep in mind, all they do every day is process claims. So they got war chests, money just set aside to pay to defend claims. But what happens when the little guy gets hurt against and they got a big insurance company? Well, they're going to drop $100,000 on the case, $200,000 on the case. If the little guy doesn't hire a lawyer, if they got to try to handle this case on their own, what's going to happen? You think they're gonna got the money to pay an expert $25,000 or put $100,000 to compete with this insurance company? They don't. And so that's why it's kind of, you get hurt, you got to sue somebody. You call somebody like the Watson firm. We get involved. You don't pay us a dime unless we win. We put in our money. We put in our time. If you hire a divorce lawyer, a family lawyer, some, I don't know how all of them are, criminal lawyers, they say, hey, my retainer is $10,000. I need it up front. And once that run out, I need more. It's kind of like pay as you play. Now, I've been working this case for the past year, probably, yeah, a little bit over a year. And I called this lawyer and said, hey, pay your full insurance policy of $5 million. Nope, we ain't paying you five. We're not paying you four. We're not gonna pay you one. All right, you gonna pay. So let me tell you what my strategy is in litigation. You know, my wife tells me, she says, man, litigation is like chess, and I love chess. I like setting you up. Kind of like boxing. You set them up for the punch. You know, um, what I do is when I go into these depositions, boy, listen, I go looking for blood. I don't even, let me tell you what a deposition is. A deposition is, if I was taking your deposition right now via Zoom, most lawyers gonna take your deposition. They'll do this. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Aaron Watson, and I'm the lawyer for the plaintiff in the case. Please state your name. Oh, my name is Joe Jackson. And Mr. Jackson, where do you work? Oh, I work at such and such, such, such. Okay, are you married? Yeah. Do you have kids? Okay. Do you have any military background? Okay. What branch? Blah 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 blah. Okay, I want to talk to you. I don't do that. I don't want to be your friend. I don't. I'm gonna find out about your kids and all that stuff at the end of my deposition. Let me tell you how I start my depositions. Uh, let me get a lawyer mode. Please state your name, Joe Jackson. Mr. Jackson, I'm going to talk with you about a collision that occurred on January 1st, 2019. Uh, can you tell me why on God's green earth you did not see my client's vehicle stopped ahead of you before this collision occurred? I just want to know why. Right then, right then, ain't no friend, we ain't building no friendships. Did you see the brake lights of my client's stopped vehicle? And I want to know why you didn't see it. Sir, and I'll have the driver's manual for Florida, and I got certain things tabbed. Now let's talk about what you were trained to do versus what you did not do at the time of this collision. Just from my tone, they see this is adversarial. Ain't no friendship, I ain't here to be your friend. My clients paid me to get justice done. And so, I had a lawyer tell me the other day, "Mis- Mr. Watson, I just don't understand why every time we go to a deposition, you sound like there's a judge or a jury here, like you're going to trial." A good lawyer told me this: if you take the right depositions, if you kill them in the deposition, you ain't gonna have no trial. Try, if they can see how weak their case is, and from the depositions, you're not gonna go to trial. In this case, what we got the $5 million settlement on, trial was in 6 months. But they saw we weren't playing games. Every single deposition I take in there, I'm flying back and forth to various states and all that stuff, taking the depositions of the president of the company, the safety manager, and all this stuff. And look what I'm hitting them with. To become a good trial lawyer, you got to be able to. It's almost like you're a chameleon. If I'm taking a deposition of a brain surgeon, I got to become a brain surgeon so we can have a conversation. If I'm talking with a trucker, look what this is. This is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. Look at, I got it tabbed up. I don't drive a truck, but when I take your deposition, I'm gonna be like, let's start right here, and I blow it up on the screen. Sir, you're required to do A, B, and C. Is that right? Or is it not right? Oh, no, no, that's not right. Well, let's take a look at what the manual says. Well, is he gonna disagree with the manual? So I'm telling you, like, I have it all. I have a technician on my Zoom depositions. He got all these pages blowed up. Blow up 5.369. Boom. Read this, sir. You just said you didn't have to do it. Could you read that into the record? No, I want the truck driver to read it so the jury can see, because I videotape all my depositions. I don't want you to try to, when we get to trial, try to wiggle out of it. I'm gonna record everything you say. Read what you were trained to do, sir. That's how the whole deposition with me go. For 2 hours, you're gonna be in there with Mr. Watson. He's gonna be on 10. And then when I get to the end of my deposition, okay, are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have in the military service? Have you ever given a deposition before? I don't care about any of that stuff until I get to the meat of it. And what you do is you throw them off guard. They never get comfortable with you. You got the lawyer over there, he mad, turning red, and all this stuff. Yelling. Listen, this is just becoming adversarial. Why do you? I let them talk. You done? I don't engage. I don't engage with a lawyer until we get in front of the judge. I'm not gonna give you any of that energy because there's nobody to solve the dispute. Me and you we just gonna be arguing, beating our chest. I ask these lawyers, "Are you done?" "All right, sir. Let's get back to this manual." You see, that's all I'm here to do. And so strategically, you go in there for blood at every deposition, every one of them. You go in there for blood, But like I said, to be able to beat someone at their profession, if you want to beat a truck driver at their profession, you gotta become a truck driver. How do you become a truck driver? You got to put in the time. What does that mean? You're gonna have to sacrifice some things. Like I wish, there's Saturdays out there, where I can go out and hang out in the park and all that stuff. But if I got a big deposition coming up, I just can't, And I wish I could tell for any of you who are listening right now who are aspiring to be a lawyer, they taught me in law school. I hear you, Reverend Marshall. Good to see you, Pastor Marshall. They taught me in law school, man. I noticed after my first year of law school that I'm like, dang, how my first test in law school, I got all the answers right, and the grade I got was a 2.75. I'm like, how I didn't miss anything, but I got a 2.75. That was average. I go talk to the professor, and I'm like, I didn't miss any of the answers. I should have had a 4.0. She was like, no, you got a 2.75 because that was the average. The average of the class didn't miss any of the answers. So I learned that to get above the average, you got to do above and beyond what everybody else is doing. And the crazy thing about law school is everybody's smart. Everybody know how to write. Everybody competing against each other and all that stuff. So what set me apart after year one was I learned, like, you know what, to beat my competition, Fred Levin would say you have to hit them where they ain't. That's what he would say before trial. Hit them where they ain't. I got to do what you're not doing. And so I learned, I'm gonna have to go and put that time in the library. I can't just do average time in the library because I'm gonna get a 2.75. I'm gonna get an average result. When I graduated law school, you know what they voted me as the most likely as? The most likely to be in the library. That's telling, isn't it? Once I figured out that that's what it takes for me to beat my competition, I got to hit them where they ain't. I got to do what they're not doing. And that's the thing about it as trial lawyers. either you're gonna put in the time. You got some lawyers out there, and I'm not knocking any lawyer. There were some people in law school. They had a photographic memory. They look at the book, and they go and make a 4.0 on the test. That wasn't me. So I'm not saying that lawyers can't be good lawyers without putting in the time. But one of the reasons why on this case I didn't lose any hearing, on big high stakes litigation, I put in the time. So that way when I send out my response to your motion, or when I send out my motion, it's a bullet. I done thought about my argument, your argument, and I done put both the arguments in there for the judge to see. Our argument is this. I anticipate the defense lawyer is going to argue this. 10 other courts have ruled in favor of us, and here's why. I've done all the research. I send the lawyers all copies of all the cases before we get to the hearing. Like, and you know how I learned that. There was a lawyer here in town, man. I remember coming to my first hearing with her as a first year lawyer. This lady, she comes in there with a binder with all these cases. They're all tabbed, this and that stuff, and she's saying, "Well, Your Honor, in the case of Joe v. Smith, they ruled that A, B, and C. Here's your copy, and here you go, Attorney Watson." I'm like, "Dang, boy, she gave me a copy." Okay, okay. She go to the next case, and in the case of University versus Joe, the court wrote this. Here you go, Your Honor. Here you go. Oh man, I see. I just came there with just copies for me, but I'm sure the judge was kind of like, "Oh, okay, you got me copies." Long story short, she won the hearing, but I don't even think it was. I'm sure the judge found that she was right on the law, but by the time she got done arguing, I'm like, I think I agree just because you gave me all the dang cases. But I learned at my first few hearings that it's not just about the law. Remember what I told you. Even in your case, it's not just about the law and the facts of your case. There's a lot more to it. And so now when I go in front of these, that's what I'm telling you. There is a benefit to growing in your profession, and I think that's whatever you do. I don't care if you've been preaching, you're a pastor. You look back, you're a better pastor and a preacher now than you were on day one. You can look at that text now. Look what else I got behind me. Right. I had the trucking safety regulations. Look at this. And I got that word because sometimes I come into the office, I need to get into it. My brother Pastor Watson, he'll tell you he gets into it a lot deeper than I do. But sometimes I got to get in there and say, though my enemy encamp and surround me to eat my flesh, they will stumble and fall. I got to just quote that to myself. That he'll make your enemies your footstool. I got to come in and encourage myself. So I keep a lot of good books in my office. But I'll get ready. I can't stay on with you all for a while. I'll get ready to tell you about the case. And I appreciate all of the viewers today. It's a historic day for my firm, and I'll tell you why. If you Google Aaron Watson right now, Pensacola, you could put Leaves Levin, Aaron Watson Leaves Levin. Shout out to them. There's gonna be language in there saying, I don't think that was smart for him to do that. Might be a mistake, something to that effect. Man, I had people tell me when I jumped out on my own, because keep in mind, when I started this law firm, you know, we only had a few $1,000s in the savings account. I told my mentor that God was telling me to open a law firm, and you know, the next week I found out that Kim was pregnant with twins. So I quit my job, and the next week I found out we got twins on the way. I wanted to go back to my boss and say, listen, I'm just gonna go back to work. I was just playing, scratch all that. I'm gonna get back to work. Couldn't do that though. But here's the other part about it that we were trying to have kids for a while, and started to question whether or not we would be able to. And so I did what God told me to do. And what did He do? He gave me double for my trouble. Lord, don't let me preach on this thing now. Don't let me preach on it, Pastor Marshall. Pastor Watson, don't let me preach. Double for my trouble, and it take a lot of risk. At that time we had just bought a house, just bought cars. Now we got babies on the way, and I'm about to leave a good job. For those who don't know, I was a shareholder. Pastor Young, I see you. Um, um, I was a shareholder at my prior firm. You know what that means? That means I was one of the owners of the firm. Big law firm here in town. Work my way up. And that's what every law student wants to do. Let me tell you how I did that briefly. They don't make people shareholders at firms if you don't know what you're doing. When you start working for a law firm, year one, they looking at you. Is this shareholder material? Year two, they looking at you. Is he bringing in the clients? Is he bringing in the money? Year three, they looking at you. People, you don't make a shareholder or get some type of ownership in a business unless they see something in you. Unless you know what they saw that I had that work ethic. I don't like to lose. I don't like to lose. I tell you, to this day, I can think about the times that I lost, and I don't like it. So I'm gonna do everything I can, to prepare myself. Johnny Cochran said, preparation, preparation, preparation. And let me tell you something. You know, God's blessed me to be around some lawyers that have literally they just changed me. When I was in law school, I had all Johnny Cochran's books. See if I still have it up here. If I don't, I got all of his books. This guy right here, this the guy right here, man, Willie Gary. Look at that's an airplane, a jumbo jet on top of his law firm, and a Rolls Royce. Man, I met this guy. You got this young guy from Pensacola. I met Willie Gary, and I'm like, this man on airplanes, and he looked like me. He looked like me. I'm like, man, this guy has Rolls Royces and jumbo jets and all that stuff. So I meet him, and I'm like, Mr. Gary, I love to work for you. And he's like, listen, come out and come have some steak with me. Dude invited me to ride in his Rolls Royce to go get steak with him. I'm like, oh, okay, Kay, you remember Kay? Um, so we're out there eating steak, and he makes a phone call and say, listen, Sean, I got this guy Aaron Watson with me from Pensacola. I want him to come work for me. Probably within an hour, she called me and said, oh, we're gonna hire you to be our summer intern and all this stuff, and welcome to the firm A, B, and C. And not only that, he chooses me to be his mentee. So there's several interns there, and he says I want to mentor Aaron Watson. And I remember when I was in his office, I said, Mr. Gary, you mind if I do a closing argument for you? Because I'm trying out for trial team at Stetson. It's the number one school in the country for trial lawyers, and they pick about 10 people to go and represent their law school to go and compete against other law schools. Just like colleges have football teams, law schools have trial teams, and they compete against each other. But to be on the trial team for the number one school in the country for trial advocacy, you're gonna have to be if I wasn't trying to be kid friendly, I was gonna say a M word, the MF, but you got to be a beast. So I gave him my closing argument, and he said, Aaron, listen, don't change a thing. He's like, you got a preacher in your family, don't you? And I was like, yeah. He said, I can hear it in your voice. I think he said something like his brother is a preacher, and he was like, don't change that. And I remember I had tried out for trial team at school the year before, and they said no because I was trying to sound smart, trying to sound like I thought a lawyer would sound. Members of the jury, my name is Aaron Watson, and I listen. He told me to bring that dog to the courtroom. Bring the dog. Y'all see, I'm having a good time today. Bring the dog to the courtroom. All them church services where you sit underneath your dad and he's sitting there walking the pews and hollering and talking about the goodness of the Lord and all that stuff. Bring that to the courtroom because your opponent's going to bring that. Members of the jury, this or that stuff. When I'm coming to that courtroom, I'm bringing the dog. Members of the jury, they lied. They know they lied. And as we sit here today, they're still lying. You see how I put all that? I put the dog on them. Hey, listen, for my trial lawyers, hey, my trial lawyers, you know what it is. And so Willie taught me to be yourself. Be yourself. When I go to these depositions, I don't care. I don't care. You want to keep it professional and talk a certain way, I'm gonna talk the way I want to talk. I get in front of that jury, I'm gonna talk the way I've learned how to talk. And when I get passionate about something, the Reverend Larry Watson Sr. about to come out on you. And for those of y'all who know my daddy, y'all know what time it is. They know what time it is. So all right, let me circle back around. So anyhow, Willie Gary, if you ever see this video, just know, man, you changed me. You changed me. You changed me. And a lot of times, men don't tell other men that they love them, they respect them. Man, I love you. I respect you, bro. You changed me, man. You showed me that as a black lawyer, you can be at the top. People tend to. I remember there was a time where people only hired lawyers, or they thought that those lawyers of a certain race or ethnicity were the top lawyers. I'm gonna get me this kind of lawyer, that kind of lawyer. But he showed me now, bro, you can be at the top. Don't matter how you look, your skin color, A, B, and C. Don't matter how if you pronounce your words the right way, or you can be at the top and you can have the best. And that's why you see me on here. I don't not I got a Burberry T-shirt. So what? I work hard to get it too. And a lot of y'all know, I don't mean to brag, we ain't hurting around here, but God showed me, I'm telling you, I look at some of these law firms around here, they got offices in all these different locations, this and that stuff. I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do, but he showed me, Willie Gary showed me that you can do it. I leave Willie, and I actually had set in on a trial with him. It was a SPS versus Motorola, where I think we got like I don't know if it was like a $3 billion verdict or something like that. I'm like, good lord. But he just showed me, just you can do whatever you set your mind to, and there's this. I used to read this book in law school. It talked about nihilism, where black people specifically, particularly, we go into a setting and think for whatever reason that you might not be as smart or you might not be as sharp. I remember my first day in law school, first couple of weeks, they teach out the Socratic method in law school, meaning that you sit down and it's not like high school where the teacher just sits there and pontificates. The professor comes in and starts calling on people. Aaron Watson, tell me about this case. What did the court rule? Explain to us why the court ruled A, B, and C. So you got to get up in front of all these smart kids and all this stuff. Oh well, in this case, the judge ruled A, B, and C. And the first time that happened to me, I used to stutter a lot. If I get nervous, and I remember I stuttered because I wasn't used to it. I was already, intimidated just being around all these law students and professors and stuff. And so that's how they break it out of you, though. If you ever wonder why a lawyer, a lot of them, they speak so well, um, they've been to class every day, 3 or 4 classes a day, and they get called on, and that's what we do in the courtroom. And when we go to the hearing, the judges, Mr. Watson, tell me your position and what the case ruled A, B, and C. So it just comes off because we've been doing it so much, and so law school was a big help for me. I wasn't always, even today as a professional. I don't say I'm the best lawyer. In fact, you can't say that. The bar won't allow you to say that stuff. So lawyers can't sit there and beat their chest and all that stuff. But I can tell you that after 13 years of practicing law, I'm a hell of a lot better than I was at year 1, year 5, year 10. You just have seen some things. And you get to the point where it's kind of like, you know what? I don't care if I go up against a lawyer that's been doing it for 50 years. The facts are the facts. The law is the law. And if it's going to boil down to fact, law, and talent and work ethic, ho 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 ho. Hey boy, you better be a hard worker. And let me tell you something about Willie Gary too. Man, I'd be working there on weekends. Willie was there too. I'd be working there late nights. Willie was there too. And I'm like, man, this guy's extra rich and he be working late nights and weekends. So then I go and work for this other trial lawyer called Fred Levin. If you ever look at the University of Florida Law School, it says the Frederick G. Levin University College of Law at the University of Florida. Man, I meet Fred. I'm working there on the weekends because I'm trying to prove myself as a young lawyer. I'm like, boy, I'm about to be here all Saturday. They about to see I got this crazy work ethic. They gonna make me a partner. I used to be coming to work wearing suits all the time and all this stuff. And somebody asked me, why do you always wear suits all the time? It's a Friday dress down day. I said, I got to dress like I already own this place. I got to dress like a shareholder, so when they look at me, they can see, oh man, this man already looked like a shareholder. I'm talking about every day. People be wearing khakis and polos. I got a full suit on, man. But I learned something with even watching Fred. Man, Fred was there late nights. Fred was there weekends. Fred gonna put in that time. So you might look at somebody's success and be like, man, they just lucky. Well, you got some lucky people, but you also got some people that don't work hard for it, then put it on the line. And there's two sides of success. On one side of the coin, you see what the fruit that success produces. On the flip side, you don't see you don't see what all that person had to go through. I remember being at Town and Country Plaza on my face saying, God, you told me to do this. You told me to do it. How am I going to pay payroll next week? God, you told me to do this. You didn't see that part. I remember, but let me tell you something. Shout out to my city. Shout out to Pensacola. Willie Kirkland, what's going on, Doc? Man, I left. I opened my firm in Town and Country Plaza. And if you're not from Pensacola, it's just not. the best area of town. I remember it's right across from a prison. I remember looking outside my office window and there'd be homeless people sleeping outside the window. I remember my first appointment with a client, and I opened my window. I thought I was still at my old law firm because when I opened my window at the big law firm, it was a water view. Man, I opened my window at this law firm, and I got a client in front of me. She could see out my window, and a dude would come over there and fall asleep right in front of the window. So my dude over here just cuddled up, sleeping outside my window during my client appointment. I'm like, excuse me. I turned down the blinds, and then the client like, does this happen all the time? Oh, Lord Jesus. You know, there was just so many things that some of the people we used to come inside of the office building and use the bathroom. We used to have to clean that junk just to, so a client wouldn't go in there and be like, I ain't coming to your law firm. But long story short, on that particular case with that client, she didn't sign up with my law firm. She's like, and I get it, but it taught me something though. Like, listen, and let me tell you something for all you business owners out there, want to or potential business owners out there, lawyers that want to start your law firm out there. Listen, people want to hire the best in their mind. And let me tell you something. Um, in no way am I saying that my firm is the best or anything like that. But people want to hire. Like if I'm traveling to a new city and I want a hamburger, I'm looking for the best hamburger. We were just in Brazil a couple weeks ago. We were looking for the best food, the best. When you Google, they want to Google the best attorney, the best hairstylist, the best barber. And so even though you may not have the money to compete with some of your larger competitors, always keep in mind that I want to be the best. Hey, I thought you were gone. Ah, okay. Thank you. That was my paralegal bringing me a couple notes. But so when I opened the firm in Town and Country Plaza, and all my team, shout out to the Watson Firm team, every single one of you. We just celebrated 6 years on June 1st, and I tell them, I said, for you guys that were rolling with me in Town and Country Plaza, man, shout out to you, man. I appreciate that because we would run into issues, man. There would be people out in the parking lot selling drugs and all that stuff, and not to knock them, I appreciated Town and Country Plaza. It was great for what it was. But this is my truth. I'm just sharing you the truth. And but my staff stuck with me. They saw something in my dream and my vision. But any of them will tell you this: although it was rough around the office, when you walk into the Watson firm, man, me and my dad, we put some wood floors. It was like vinyl floors, but it looked like wood. My wife was there with a big old stomach, with twins in her stomach, painting these walls and stuff. We put, just we made it look like the best we could. And we gave the perception that this was high quality, even though our surroundings weren't the same. I had a TV up in there. We went to the Salvation Army. I couldn't get new furniture and all that stuff at that time, but I got the best stuff I could get from them with the leather and the wood and all that stuff. You walk up in there, it's gonna smell good. It's gonna be a reception desk. Welcome to the Watson firm, this or that stuff. And I preach that to my team. If you go Google the Watson firm right now, Google us and look at those reviews. Man, customer service and word of mouth, it can make you or break you, and if you're in business today and you're not worrying about the perception of your business, you know, I wanted it to be perceived as the best, even though, or perceived that I was successful, even though I didn't have the money. I told that to a young lawyer the other day. He said, man, I've been thinking about getting a Mercedes. It's used, this or that stuff. I said, get it because it gives the perception that you are successful. And I get it. Some of y'all gonna say, man, get you a Mercedes, you get you a smaller car, this and that stuff. If I weren't a lawyer, I would want my lawyer to roll up to court with me in the Benz. I want him to roll up with a nice suit on and some nice shoes. Even if you ain't successful, look successful. There's a verse in the Bible, I can't remember it, but some of the preachers or pastors can, but it's something to the effect that in all that you do, give it your best. If Robert Grimsley was on here, he'd be able to quote that direct verse. If you're selling suits, make sure it's the best. If you're selling, food, make sure it's the best. In your mind, and make sure you give off that perception that you're the best. And so here's the deal. I want to share with you. I had a lawyer friend of mine call and say, hey man, you got to tell me about that case because he knows. Just a few months ago, I was telling him how these lawyers they were yanking my chain. Just all these antics and all this stuff. I wasn't used to seeing all. Well, I've seen the antics before, but I just thought it was unwarranted. And so I go in and take these depositions. How I told you I take them. I come to the office. Look at all the files. I mean, I pull. When I take a driver's deposition or defendant driver's deposition, man, I think I know more about him than he know about him. You know, man, I want to know. I've been on your Facebook page, then downloaded your Facebook page. I was on your wife's Facebook page, your cousin's Facebook page. I want to see who you are. And I'm gonna come there with the Facebook page printed out. Sir, tell me about it. I mean, you just hit him. Mike Papantonio, he calls this thing the document bounce. And he talks about it when he speaks at various conferences and all this stuff. And he showed it to me when I worked for him. He said, listen, when I go to these depositions, I'm straight hitting you with documents. It ain't gonna be a bunch of questions. Sir, let's start out with this document. This your email. You sent it on this date. What did you say? A, B, and C. And so I can assume that you were correct that A, B, and C is a fact, correct? Either you were lying when you wrote it or you're lying now. That type of stuff. Ain't no, let me get to know you. I'm trying to be your friend. We're not friends. We're not friends. I've sued you. I've sued your company. Whatever we're not friends. So let's just not, we don't need to lie to each other. And so we took a lot of depositions. We had trials set for January in federal court. Got a lot of good rulings from the judge. I told this lawyer we're gonna get that check from him one way or the other, and we got it. It's a record for my firm. It means a lot for me because for the people. I remember going out to some events with my wife, and somebody said, "Man, you made a mistake. You should have stayed. This or that stuff. You was the only brother over there. This or that stuff." And I heard all that, but when God puts something in your heart, when you called to do something, ain't no mistakes. Ain't no mistakes. That's my prayer to God. God, guide my footsteps. If you guide my footsteps, I can't make mistakes. And whatever I perceived to be a mistake was just your will. So it was something that I was supposed to learn from it. It wasn't a mistake. It was a lesson. Man, I think I ought to just start preaching on this thing. So um, I go forward with the case, going back and forth. And we try to get the case resolved. They don't want to pay anything on the case. Zero. Well, it ain't our fault. Ain't our fault. We ain't paying nothing. So I say I'm gonna keep giving y'all the smoke. Yeah, yeah, the smoke. Long story short, I got a phone call this morning. Mr. Watson, we paying the full policy of $5 million. I wanted to say, I told you you're gonna pay it. Y'all know I wanted to say it because I told it. I'm reading these books about manifesting things, manifesting, speaking things into existence. I said you were gonna pay it. You ain't have a choice. I don't want to be cocky, but I said it. And so when I got the call, I called. No, my wife was with me. We were at lunch, and I called the client, and that's some of the best times as a trial lawyer, is when you make that call to your client and say we won. It's over. Mm, mm, mm. It's over. I get goosebumps thinking about that. But you know what? Though I was ready to give that closing argument. I was ready to give it to them, members of the jury. Look, you see that proof. I was about to give y'all a taste of the closing argument, but you see how I looked at you and just paused, members of the jury. On this date, my client, and I start out soft, but when I get passionate and what these people did in this case, that's how I give it to them, y'all. They don't know what was coming. They don't know what was coming. I was ready to make them feel it too. I had another case last year that was about to go to trial, and we're at mediation. This lawyer gets up and walked out while I was talking. He can do that in the mediation because there's no judge. There's no jury. But let me tell you something. I was like, when we get to trial in this case, he ain't gonna be able to walk out. He gonna have to hear me. He gonna have to listen to me. And I thought it was disrespectful. And so I said, you know what? All right. And I remember telling my wife about it. I said, all right. That's you know what? You can be disrespectful now because I'm getting paid to deal with the disrespect. But at the end of the day, you're gonna write that check. That's what you're gonna do. You can disrespect, but you're gonna write that check.
Yeah. So, I bet my wife laughing. She laughing. She like, Aaron, you funny. But anyhow, so I called the client, and it's been just an uphill battle for them. I'm not gonna get into the facts of the case and all that stuff. I just think right now, I'm not gonna get into all that. But depending on how things shape out, with regard to getting the case wrapped up, I'll get into it at that point if it's warranted. I do want to share it with you because there's a lot of complex issues in the case. Where they denied fault, blamed us, blamed my driver, um, you know, and we were able to overcome it. Each time they pointed the finger, we fought right back. We fought right back. When we I don't know if we outspent them, but from what I can see in the case, we disclosed a whole lot of experts that, and they couldn't compete with us on that. At least when they disclosed their experts, I was like, oh Lord, I don't. Today is a historic day for my firm, but I'll tell you, God showed me greater. You know, Within 3 months of me opening my firm, I had my first $1 million settlement. Consider that. 3 months after all the naysayers and the doubters. I remember opening my firm and I remember going around to talk to various banks asking for a line of credit because I only had a few $1,000s in my savings account. Um, and by the time we had one or two payrolls, it was starting to dry up. We had moved in to my mother-in-law's place. We put tenants in our home we just bought. Put it on the line. We put it on the line. We took a big risk. And my safety net was going to be that um, we would just get a line of credit from a bank. By at that time I had billboards and it had been on TV commercials. People knew who I was, and I had clients. And I go to these banks and they said no, no. I remember going to this one bank, and it was like 10 older older white guys. And I had played my commercial to them, and I said, "Hey, I have clients. And we already have an office space, not even a dollar." And I remember coming home to my wife and telling her they said no again. You know. Hmm. And so when I tell you that today's a historic day, it's historic for my family, for my wife, because we took a big risk. And people look at me now and say, hey, oh man, you got it. I think when I posted about this verdict, they were like, oh, let me hold $5 A, B, and C. But they know about the glory, but they don't know what all we went through. And how I was able to get a line of credit was I had to call this guy. Man, this guy was from New York. I called him. I think he had like a trust fund or something. And ain't it crazy how I had good credit. I don't know why to this day these people wouldn't give me a dollar. I called this guy in Chicago and he says, uh, I'll invest in your firm, but it's going to be, I'll give you 75,000. No matter how much you pay it down, it's going to be X amount a month. I think it was either five or $10,000 a month. It was a sharp loan. I'm like, man, oh man. So, I was like, I told him to kill me. He's like, it's gonna be $5,000 a month. That means we pay this little thing down to $10,000. It's gonna be $5,000 a month still. It's just gonna keep growing. But hey, well, that's what we had to do. And so I took it out 3 months. The number three. And how many days was Jesus in that tomb? Oh, let me just leave on that note. 3 days he was down. 3 months I was down, but God, I thank God for favor with that guy in Chicago. In 3 months he had his money back paid in full, and that was the we didn't need a line of credit anymore. And you know what's crazy about that is I had to go to the banks before, but I can't tell you how many banks come here now. I don't even call them. We just want to just see how your banking relationship is going to see if we might be able to be you might be interested in our products. To see if you might be interested in switching banks. They call me now. We just had a meeting with a bank this morning. They call us now. But it's just historic. You go from with a million in my first 3 months. I did some research and pulled all the settlements we had over the years. I mean, it's millions, 20 plus 25. I think I posted something about it. And the interesting thing about being a trial lawyer and a personal injury lawyer is not only do we come in, not only do we make money to take care of our family and have a good life, but there are thousands of people throughout Pensacola and beyond. You may not even know them that they're able to also benefit. You got probably have millionaires walking around. You don't even know it, you know. And I'm so thankful that they could have hired anybody. They all these people around here spending millions of dollars on TV ads and all this stuff. Come to us, come to us, come to us. But they say we coming to you, Mr. Watson. They don't have to do that. But I thank God for them that they had enough trust in me and my team and our lawyers, even the lawyers that are coming up, with me. Shout out to Attorney Ashley Armstrong. Shout out to Attorney Jim Hale. Shout out to Attorney Tracy Coffey doing our handling our criminal cases, and my entire team. Shout out to all you all that are the people that are coming up with me to say, you know what, we're going to him. I'm not the biggest law firm in town, but you know what though, what I say sometimes is, and I'm not knocking Walmart or any of these big companies, but I don't buy my suits from these big corporations. I want a small boutique that's gonna take the time and measure my arms and my shoulders and my chest and make sure that thing sit right. Bigger ain't always better. Ooh, that sounds like my next commercial. Lord, you're just giving it to me today. You're just giving it to me. It ain't always better, you know. Willie Gary used to tell me it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the fight in the dog. Something to that effect. Not the size of the dog, but the fight in the dog. Because I asked him one time, I said, man, how do you go up against these big corporations like that? They probably got 100 lawyers. And he said, they can only put one lawyer in the courtroom against me. They can only put one lawyer in that jury box. There ain't going to be some 100 lawyers in there. It's just going to be one. Not about the size of the dog, but the fight in the dog. Something to that effect. And so, for everybody that's caught up on, size, A, B, and C, all those 100 lawyers ain't going to be giving that closing argument. Those 100 lawyers ain't going to be cross-examining that witness. It's likely going to be one. Make sure that lawyer is the lawyer that's right for you. I may not be the right one for you, you know. But when you're picking a lawyer, when your family's picking a lawyer, make sure you got a lawyer that's right for you, that can tell your story, and that when they explain to you the various complexities of the law, you understand them. I'm not going to talk about negligence per se and comparative fault and all this stuff and vicarious liability with my client. I'm going to break it down. Vicarious liability is where the employer, because just by hiring this person, is responsible for that person's conduct. That's what it is. I'm not going to use all these big fancy words, and I don't use fancy words in front of the jury. I don't because I'm not talking to a jury of lawyers. I'm talking to people that might go to my church. Might have grown up in my neighborhood. They don't have law degrees and all that stuff. Just tell it to me, talk in common sense terms, Mr. Watson. I need a lawyer that's just that knows the law, that has a training, that can look at complex issues and just use common sense at it. I told this lawyer when I first got this case. This is a this is a rear end case. It's a trucking company. The truck ran into the back of my client. I don't care what you say. My client did or didn't do. This is a professional driver. He has to get a commercial driver's license to even operate a vehicle. There's federal laws that he must follow, state laws that he must follow. He ain't a regular driver. This is a profession. You mean to tell me that in 2022 a truck collides into the back of another vehicle and say it ain't their fault? Man, get out of here. Come on. Common sense. You can take all the degrees off the wall. Common sense tell you smell don't pass the smell test, you know. But shout out to my team. I love you, Pensacola. I appreciate you. We couldn't be where we are without you all. I had staff members call me and cry today because they knew what we've had to overcome, to get where we are. God's blessed us. Each year has been bigger than the following year. Each year we've grown. God's blessed us to where it's not a situation where the Watson firm's over here and we're just we've grown each year to the point where the Bible says that your cup overfloweth surely goodness and mercy. He says he'll bless you exceedingly and abundantly, above more than you could ask for. I'd like to see those words, exceedingly and abundantly. My cup runneth over, because I don't serve a God that's just going to fill my cup halfway. He won't even fill it up to the top. It says my cup overflows. He'll do exceedingly and abundantly above or more than we could ever ask for. That's the kind of God we serve. And so I'll leave you with this. From what I've seen, and I told this to my brother the other day, the older you get, that verse in the Bible says rings true, that I've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread. I just had my 38th birthday. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the righteous forsaken. I haven't seen it. I look at my family. We just went to Brazil. I haven't seen it. I'll leave it at that. The righteous forsaken. And so for those of you who are, looking for that abundance, you know, if you are a believer, if you believe in God, you have faith. Remember what I told you. I'm a Christian lawyer. I pray before I go to court. My father's a preacher. My mother's a preacher. My sister's a preacher. My brother's a preacher. I'm not. I know where my help comes from, and I believe that just as I just said, if you believe you are righteous, God's not going to forsake you, and He's not. Your seed's not going to beg for bread. And it's going to happen in His time. If it were up to me, my first year practicing law, I would have had all this stuff, been driving nice car, this and that stuff. My first year, man, I had to go through some things. Had to lose some things, lose some trials. And it just hardens you. You go into court now, it's kind of like I'd have been through some things in life. But again, thank you for everybody that's tuning in. I hope you got something from it. And thank you for all of your support. If you or a loved one, if you're looking for a lawyer, like I said, I'm not in any way, I'm not saying I'm the best lawyer or anything like that. You can go to my website, watsonfirm.com, and look at my bio, look at our lawyers' bios. I hope you look at this result and say, you know what, we were from Pensacola, we were a small law firm. This trucking company, they probably wrote us off and said, man, this lawyer doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have the money to fight back with it. No, you got the right one. You got the right one, because we did have it. We had the experience. We've won cases like this before. I've seen this stuff before. You're going to pay this money, sir, one way or the other. And we had the resources. Spent over $150,000 in our client's case. Just like we do, we represent hundreds of clients throughout Florida and beyond. Invest in our time, resources, and money. We don't get paid until we win in the case. That's high stakes. You lose that case, you have to write all that stuff off. And so, it's. I appreciate all of you who said thank you for what you do in the city. And I appreciate you all for trusting me and trusting my firm with your cases. To all the lawyers, Tia Robbins, thank you. And I was listening to your statement last night on the blocks thing. And I admire your story as well. There's something about entrepreneurs and stepping out there and having a dream and willing to take a risk. It's just something about that. And for all of you who aren't, even if you aren't an entrepreneur, even if you're not a lawyer, if you have a dream, I always say that everybody has a talent. What is your talent? It's something that you do better than everybody else. God gave you something. You might make a sweet potato pie and it tastes better than everybody else's. You might be able to sing and people tell you do it better than everybody else. Oh, when you wash that car, it's the cleanest I ever seen. Oh, when you do A, B, and C, it's the best. That's your gift. The Bible says your gift will make room for you. Before I opened my law firm, they said it wasn't enough room for me. Boy, let me stop. They said it wasn't enough room for another law firm. They said that. They said that. We got too many law firms. The Bible said your gift will make room for you. And so hopefully you see my story and you're encouraged by it. I've been thinking about writing a book lately. In my mind, I say, well, will the people buy a book from a lawyer? But I think they will, and even if they don't, I know a lot of people will. But even if it's not some big New York Times bestseller, I think that people will be inspired by it, by this story. And so, hopefully, I can make the time, to put this down in writing, to get something out, and again, thank you so much to all of my clients. Thank you for trusting us with your case. To my team, thank you for giving it your best every day at work. It's not always easy when somebody hires us in the middle of, their tragedy. That's what we do. They come to us and say, I lost my loved one yesterday. They're grieving, and they say, I want to hire you to fight for me. That's tough to carry on your back every day and go home and be loving with your family, knowing that you got grieving clients, people who are hurt, people who are in the hospital and all that stuff. But we do it every single day, and you do it, and you come back to work and you smile with each other, and it's appreciated. We couldn't make it to 6 years without you, and we certainly couldn't make it to 6 years without our city, the support of our city. This client who I represented wasn't even from Pensacola. They called from another city in Florida. I had a colleague of mine. I won't put her out there, but she called me from law school and said, I got this case, and I couldn't think of any other lawyer to send them to but you. And I saw the case, and I said, this is a monster of a case. I couldn't think of anybody else to give them to but you. And so if you're listening, I appreciate you for having that confidence in me. You could have sent them anywhere, some big law firm, but you say, I'm gonna put you in the hands of a good lawyer. I didn't share this with you all, but when I told you I went to the number one school in the country for trial advocacy at the time, I was on their trial team. I remember going to this national competition against all these Ivy League schools. I didn't lose once. I didn't lose once. This was before I ever had my law degree. We were in the courtroom arguing and fighting it out with these guys. They said they're so smart, this or that stuff. This guy, his family's from Scuba, Mississippi. That's where my aunts and uncles and all that stuff. From Pensacola, Florida, going up there and arguing at these big universities and stuff, and never lost. I was the national champion before I ever graduated law school. A national champion, you know, and it's from Pensacola. And so, but you know what? I don't have to. I feel like I don't have to prove myself to my city. Y'all have been supporting. We've done a good job. If, like I said, if you Google the Watson firm, just look at some of our reviews. I'm very mindful of how we are perceived by the public. We don't always get it right, but I tell my clients if we don't get it right, give them the opportunity to learn from it. So that we can get it right. And so, anyhow, Kendall, everybody, love y'all, appreciate y'all. I'm about to go celebrate hard, but I had to come online to tell y'all about it. 5 million in Canadian dollars, and so we're about to go and celebrate, and so thank you on behalf of my entire firm for listening in. Let me talk my ish. That what the young people say. They say talk your ish. I said ish. I did not say, just so you know. All right, y'all. All right. Blessings to y'all this weekend. We'll talk soon.